Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. Oh, I don't think I got this right. I think that's about right. Well, speaking of the Civil War, I'm today going to speak of the Civil War. Back before the Civil War, a fellow named Sam Colt came up with a wonderful little pistol design, a revolver, and he sold it quite extensively. And his factory was there to supply all of the officers coming out of West Point. You know, young cadet goes over to West Point to learn how to be a military officer. And one of the initiation things is you take your hard-earned money, or the money that dad sent you from back home, especially the southern fellas, and you went over to Mr. Colt's place, Colonel Colt, and you got yourself an 1851. And this is a standard 1851 36 caliber, what became known as a Navy revolver. I think that's because the scene that's engraved on it is a naval scene, and 36 became the naval caliber of that era. Later, the 44 was called the Army caliber. Well, soon after that, all these fellows with these were commissioned, became officers. And then a little time later, Fort Sumner happened, and a bunch of them decided that they were going to be wearing gray uniforms instead of blue, and they all went south. Well, when that happened, Colt became the main manufacturer of pistols for the Union Army. He'd love to have been for the Southern Army as well, but they sort of had an embargo on that. But Colt just couldn't make enough revolvers to go around. It was the #1 revolver favored by the Army in the North. But there was another one that came out just a little, about the same time. And that was this. Elipha, I think is his name, Remington's 1858. And this is based on a patent design by a fellow named Odysee Beal. So it's called the Beal Remington, this one. And this one's in 44. This one's in 36. And the 36, this is a standard Remington Beal. This was very popular because this cost $25. This cost $15. Remington decided that they weren't going to make a profit selling to the Union because, well, the war was on and they were patriotic. Well, anyway, later on, they came out with an upgraded design of this in 44, and this was it. I forget what it's called, but this was the final model of this particular kind of pistol. Meantime, Colt had another great idea, and he made this thing. This is the 1849 31 caliber pistol, and it was designed mainly as a personal protection weapon. And many of the Northerners, well, and some Southerners, had these on them as a defensive measure. Well, Remington wasn't going to be left alone with that one, so he made one too. Recently, Pieta came out with this copy of the, I think it was 1863, I think was when this came out. And it's a spur trigger, but it uses the exact same system, the Beal system, which uses this center pin that's underneath the loading lever. And it's, oh, come on, get back in there. It's a very distinctive design. Well, meanwhile, another fellow came out with another design, and he was selling it as well. But this was the #1, the #2, and this is the #3, the Star. This is an original Star, by the way. This is an 1864. Now remember, Colt was making a 36 caliber. This is a 44. Remington also had a 44. Well, in 1861, I think it was, Colt came out with the Colt Army. Well, he didn't have that many of them made by 1864. Why was that important? Because in 1864, there was a fire at his factory, and it virtually burned his factory to the ground. And because of that, they had a bit of a setback in making the 1861s. They continued making them after they got the factory back up and running, but that took a while. But the Remingtons are just an interesting design, I think. And let's see, what is this? Yeah, that's a Remington, and that's a Star. The second best revolver of the Civil War. These have a tendency to get jammed up a lot compared to a Colt, I think. But they're stronger. I mean, they have a top strap on them. The Colts do not. They have an open strap there. You know, the cylinder is just free floating. The real culprit for naughtiness, though, is the Star. This has a tendency to chain fire, which means that it'll fire the cylinder that's under the hammer, but occasionally it will cross over and fire one of the other cylinders. This actually happened to me with this one the very first time I shot it. And Jake from Everything Black Powder commented on my video that if you own a Star, you have experienced a chain fire. And he's absolutely right. I own a Star and I saw a chain fire. But I still think this is a cool revolver. I mean, I like the Colt, I like the Remington, but the Star is just, well, it's a rarity these days. They don't even make any kind of facsimile of this anymore, I don't think. And this one's unique in that the Star was a double action pistol. This one's single action. That's because in 1864, the Army went to Star and said, you know, we like them, but can you make them single action like the Colt and the Remington? Because Colt and Remingtons, they both work single action. Cock the hammer, pull the trigger. And our officers are used to that. And your funny system, and the funny system on a Star, was a little trigger behind the main trigger. So you'd cock it. I mean, the trigger itself was the cocking piece. And then you could fire it with the trigger that was behind this trigger. Or you could just pull the trigger through and it would initiate the trigger underneath and fire it. But it was a much longer and heavier trigger pull. Both the Remington and the Colts had a very real easy trigger pull. This one, not so much. But it also had one beautiful other advantage. The takedown on this thing is superbly easy. You just pull this pin, then put it into half cock or whatever, then pull out just open it up. That's it. That's the whole takedown. And it works like a champ. Oh, come on now. Get in there. Getting it back together again, because I'm a klutz, is not so easy. And I'll get it in just a second here, guys. There. And then put your pin back in. And that's the Star. These are all, I mean, this is even the Pieta is hard to find these days. I happened to run into a bunch of them that were for sale for a little while at Midway, and I immediately snapped this one up. The only one of the early model of percussion revolvers I do not have is the original Colt Patterson, which I would love to have. It's a lousy pistol, but it would complete my collection. All but the Star here are facsimiles, Pietas or Ubertis. This is a Pieta. I think this is an Uberti. Or maybe. I don't remember. Now, what's interesting, though, is this one is not. This is a Navy Arms. This is one of the originals that came over from Navy Arms. I don't even know who the manufacturer is because it's not marked anywhere on here. All it has is some Italian proof marks, and that's it. So this one's probably from the late 1950s, early 1960s. The rest of these, well, except for this one, are from the 1990s and 2000s. That one, I think, is from the 1980s. But anyway, the Remington is an interesting design, and they made these from 1858, and they were the original is called the model of 1858 from the patent date that's on it, up until about 1873. when Remington basically left the revolver business and just stuck to rifles after that. But anyway, just thought you'd be interested in that other aspect of the percussion revolver scene back in the day. In the American scene, I mean, we could talk the Adams or other little bullpup designs from Europe, or there are a lot of them over there. But this is what Americans carried, and in some cases, the Colt, even Europeans carried. The Colt had himself a factory in London for a while to make those. Anyway, that's about all I got to say. Happy trails.